In the final installment of the Life and Debt series, we take a look at the Federal Student Loan Forgiveness Program. The program was originally introduced in 2007 by President George W. Bush and was expanded in 2018 by Congress to allow more public servants to qualify. CBS News national correspondent Mark Strassmann sat down with one woman who applied for relief and was rejected.
3 and I love to teach, but I went back to school mostly for what my students could get out of it, touch their lives.
You went into it with the absolute intent of giving back.
Oh, absolutely. You don't do that for the money.
Debbie Baker is 56, a mother of 2, and a career choir teacher. She directs the education program at a musical nonprofit in Tulsa.
Every year, does this stack of paperwork get bigger?
Yeah, oh yeah.
This paperwork represents a 20-year struggle to pay off her student loans. She graduated from the University of Tulsa in 1999.
How much did you owe?
It was right at about $35,000.
But with deferments and interest, she now owes $80,000, more than double her original loan amount.
I got on there one day and it said, "Your loans will be forgiven if you die." Yeah, that's nice.
In 2007, Congress passed the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. Public servants making 10 years of qualifying payments would have their loan balance wiped clean.
You were convinced that you qualified.
We planned our whole lives around it.
Baker never missed a payment for 10 years. She says Navient, her loan servicer, repeatedly told her she was on track. In 2017, she applied for forgiveness and was rejected.
My payment plan was correct. My employment was correct. They just had issued it with the wrong pot of money, and nobody told me.
You had made 0 payments to qualify. 0. What was that moment like when you realized what you owed at that point?
I felt very guilty because what I'd done to my family. They don't deserve that. It's just wrong. It's wrong on so many levels.
Teachers, firefighters, police officers, at last count, the Department of Education has rejected more than 75,000 applications for forgiveness. Only 864 people successfully applied, a rejection rate of 99%.
These are people who went into public service in good faith and got screwed.
Exactly.
Seth Frotman is the executive director of the Student Borrower Protection Center.
Through rampant mismanagement at the Department of Education and rampant illegal practices at the student loan companies, it has become a broken promise for millions of Americans.
Baker, frustrated, began recording calls with Navient, her loan servicer.
I now have to start all over. So you can understand my frustration and disappointment and anger that's going through my mind right now.
I was just going to say, yeah, that is unfortunately very common.
They lie. They talk in circles. They tell you one thing and then you find out it's another.
In a statement to CBS News, Navient blamed a complex federal loan program, which is why we consistently advocate for policy reforms to simplify the system. Baker had to face the music. She restructured her loan and started over. She has 8.5 more years of payments to forgiveness.
You're set up to fail.
Set up to fail. Oh, absolutely. It's set up so that you're never paid off.
And Mark Strassmann joins me now. So, Mark, what are the requirements that someone has to meet for loan forgiveness?
Well, you got to be a public servant of some sort. You've got to be a teacher or a cop or a firefighter. Some kinds of government service also qualify. You've got to have the right kind of federal loan, and then you have to make payments for 10 straight years. And then the program said, in theory, you ought to qualify for forgiveness. Hasn't worked out that way, but that was the original intent of the law.
So in 2018, Congress expanded funding for this temporary loan forgiveness program. Nearly 39,000 Americans applied, but only 262 people have successfully been relieved of their debt. Why is the acceptance rate so low?
Yeah, this is sort of like the program that just can't win. They created a temporary fix to try to help some of the folks who'd been rejected the first time. It was a temporary pot of about $700 million over 2 years. They've only allocated $10 million. which is, again, is another 99% rejection rate. Some of the issue seems to be a processing delay. That is, so many people were in line for a review that it takes a little time for the system to catch up for it.
Bureaucracy? Oh.
Yeah, bureaucracy, and the fact is, like, more than 75,000 people have been rejected already. I mean, that's a lot of cases to review. I'm sure everybody thinks, like, I deserve this forgiveness. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. And to review it, to make sure they get it right, that's one issue. But I'm telling you that this program just can't win.
Well, does the Trump administration have any plans to help public servants actually get their student loans forgiven?
Well, I don't know that the public servants would think it's actually going to help. The Trump administration wants to do away with the program altogether next year and replace it with a program that would allow for loan forgiveness for anyone with an undergraduate degree who, after 15 years and still has debt, or a graduate degree and I believe 25 years, could be 30 years and still has debt. But for public servants, especially those who are still in line, they're in limbo. But for instance, if you're in line at some point on the road to forgiveness and the program ends next year, are you still grandfathered into the old program?
We don't
know
Not
clear.
Yet.
Not clear. So I tell you, in almost every single way, so many of these people who went into it believing that after 10 years of public service, I was almost going to get a little bonus, a little help, because let's face it, public servants by and large don't go in it to make money.
Right.
They don't make a ton of money, and this is a way of saying, in effect, thanks for your service. It hasn't worked out that way, because it ends up being an unpleasant surprise and in the eyes of these public servants, a broken promise.
Gosh, it's just such a difficult situation for these folks. Mark Strassmann, Mark, thank you.
You bet.